Some of you may recall the strange affair of the Phantom of the Opera, a mystery never fully explained. We're told, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the very chandelier which figures in the famous disaster. Our workshops have repaired it and wired parts of it for the new electric light. Perhaps we can frighten away the ghost of so many years ago with a little illumination. Gentlemen.
One of the things that was most important is we had a wonderful looking chandelier, so we thought very carefully about who we'd use and who we would go to. Also Swarovski were the obvious people. Well, you know, it's a huge, great thing, and it's really pretty shattering, and literally, in real life, it's an amazing sight, and I think we're going to even have it for one of our premieres.
December the 6th, 2004, and the film of The Phantom of the Opera gets its world premiere in London. And there, at the centre of the post-premiere party, is the Swarovski chandelier in all its glory. It is the latest creation in a long association of Swarovski crystal with the movies.
Swarovski has always been present in film, especially as the stars of the silver screen initially emerged. You know, Swarovski was the crystal supplier to all the jewelry, as we see on the stars like Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe, Dorothy and her slippers, you name it, it's Swarovski. Here we are above the town of Wattens, and this is where it's all happening. This is where all the Swarovski crystal is being made. I hate to disappoint you, we don't make the crystal in little mines, but we actually make it right here in these plants that you see here. Swarovski has been around for 109 years. We are pretty much the biggest producer of cut crystal jewelry stones. The first plant was here in 1895, and we have grown subsequently. We now employ 2,000 people in here, in Wattens alone, 14,000 people worldwide. This is where the sand is being melted in order to make the glass, and this is where the crystal is being cut.
In the light laboratory we work in the field of crystal and light. So we are looking to see what happens when light emanates from a light source, which could be the sun or an artificial light source. And then a really important thing is what happens in the crystal, especially when it leaves the crystal and then comes into the human eye.
Swarovski does not create its own chandeliers, but supplies the Swarovski chandelier components to chandelier manufacturers. So when we first were approached to provide the chandelier, we were absolutely thrilled. And then, of course, we had the choice of working with various different manufacturers with whom we have good relationships. It turned out that Tisserand was the most flexible, the most willing, and the most enthusiastic to create the chandelier.
This chandelier is about 20 feet high, and the weight is 2.5 tons. It's very huge chandelier. For example, the real one in the opera in Paris, it's only 15 feet. This one is bigger than the real one.
The chandelier is being done by Swarovski, a big crystal company. And that is sort of largely, I'd say that is quite largely based on the Garnier chandelier in the Opera House in Paris, the sort of general shape and size of it and everything. We're changing small things.
In the Tisserand studios in Paris, the metal frame is constructed over several weeks. But this is only the start of a 6-month period of detailed work to bring the chandelier to life.
We use drawing by computer to make every iron part to know what is possible to hang on this chandelier. And of course there is a lot of very specific art worker, like a bronze worker, chiseling worker, the man to make all the gilt part, and of course all the art of Swarovski to make the crystal pendant and there is a collaboration between our company and Swarovski company to study what is possible to do to make the most beautiful chandelier, exactly that by the end of the 19th century.
The dimension of that part of circles, the main circle, it's 390.
Après, ça c'est pareil, ça c'est ça.
Ear to ear. C'est ça?
Ouais.
And ear to ear.
John Fenner, the art director, and Peter Hutchinson, the special effects supervisor on the film, fly in to see how things are progressing.
But this rod has to go from here all the way up to the
Yes.
Yes.
You are going to see.
Okay.
You are going.
You need these diagonals because they obviously support this.
The frame is starting to be assembled, and the film team discuss any changes they may need.
So we could take these spars up through the middle bit and then you'd have to go from there. Yeah. Does that mean your framing then, your metal support structure would have to be put up already? It's the time you've got from structural engineer.
This is the dome which fits on top of our auditorium set. This will be shot on a separate stage, and this represents the chandelier which has been made for us.
Swarovski really prides itself on the type of glass that we create, which we call crystal. It's absolutely pure, it's optically pure. We have our secret ingredient, which so far nobody has been able to imitate or copy. Then of course we have the cutting technology, which also nobody has been able to copy. And the cutting is key here because the better the cutting, the smoother the surface of the crystal. The smoother the surface is, the higher the refractive index, and of course the higher that is, the greater the brilliance. And at the end of the day, the crystal is nothing but a lens that really takes in the light and then refracts it, breaks it down in its prism colors.
It took 8 weeks to make the crystal chains, and there are over 30,000 pieces. It will take Andy Prast and his colleagues 5 days to assemble, making sure every one of the 30,000 crystals is perfectly pinned.
Every single chain of the chandelier has been produced in our department in Austria, where we put the chains carefully in special trays. They were packed in a special huge box. Then it was shipped to Pinewood Studios, where we assembled the chains to the chandelier. It took us about 5 days to assemble the chains. This is a small part of the largest chain we produced. The longest one has been about 2 meters long, and we produced up to 700 chains.
This chandelier was a very special and a very unique one because it was the first time for us. We have created crystal strands in this size and with this weight.
The production design team examined the finished chandelier on the studio lot before the dome of the Opera House is built around it.
We learned a lot about our crystals, about durability. We learned borders. And to see him going out and to become a film star, it was a fantastic feeling, and I'm very, very proud.
But the Phantom of the Opera demands more than a chandelier. Swarovski's resources are vital to the production of hundreds of jewellery pieces and costumes, as well as Christine's sparkling engagement ring. Oscar-nominated for her work on the film Elizabeth, costume designer Alexandra Byrne got in touch.
Collaborating with Alex Byrne, we invited her to the showroom. We provided her with an overview of the entire collection of components. And there's so many different ways of applying the components, from, you know, crystals that you can sew on, you can clamp them on, you can iron them on, you can apply them in sheets of crystal. And she eventually just chose the pieces that she found fit and the pieces that would really support her designs in integrating them into her gowns.
Sung and in a foreign tongue, it's just the sort of story audiences adore. In fact, a perfect opera. Prima donna, the world is at your feet. The nation waits, and how it aims to reach it.
They have a new product called Crystal Fabric, which I don't think has been used before, which we developed and used very much during Il Muto, which is an amazing invention and a very exciting one. It can be ironed on, it picks up the colour of the background, and that really, for Il Muto, the clothes could have gone either way, but that gave me a very clear starting point and a choice as to how to approach them, and I think the results are really exciting.
Crystal Fabric is here. It's a new, brand new material. Which allows us with laser cutting to finalize each design.
Working with Alex Byrne has been a big honor for Swarovski, having such a talented costume designer. In this project we had the unique opportunity to use our latest innovation in cut crystal, based on a new technology we just developed, to add even more sparkle and brilliance. So for us it has been important to prove once more that Swarovski is really at the forefront, a leader when it comes to crystal, when it comes to cutting, when it comes to applying crystal.
I'm doing transfers. That means that we make things that you can iron on clothes, like you see it here. These are examples for it, as you used also in the film here. So especially we use sketches, ideas from everywhere, every kind, and try to translate them into a transfer, like this here. And then we can take the transfer, place it onto the fabric, and then we iron it on, and it comes out like this.
The use of all the Swarovski products has been fantastic. Obviously, I've used them in the past because every time there's any sparkle on a costume, it is Swarovski. Anybody making costume jewellery, it is Swarovski.
The Phantom of the Opera has been another successful collaboration for Swarovski. And its crystals, whether on the chandelier, the jewellery or on the costumes, shine on.
Girl who's gone and slept with the patron. Now in the soubrette entwined in love's duet. Although he made him mar, he must have been with her. You'll never get away with all this in a play. But if it's loudly sung and in a foreign tongue, it's just the sort of story audiences adore. In fact, a perfect
December the 6th, 2004, and after 18 years as a stage musical, playing to 80 million people worldwide, The Phantom of the Opera is having its world premiere as a film. Directed by Joel Schumacher and produced by Andrew Lloyd Webber, the movie is a long-cherished project, finally getting its glittering opening.
We're really excited. It's exciting to be here because, you know, we had, as you know, an all-British crew, and I think Emmy and Patrick and I are the only Americans, I think, an all-British cast, so it's really exciting to be here, and I'm glad we did the premiere in England.
It was a big job for me. It was a lot of hard work, there was a lot of pressure, but I killed myself making it, and now I'm here, and I think the harder you work for a role, the more special a night like tonight is.
I think it's everything that it ever could have been, really. I mean, spectacular and sumptuous and exciting and scary and sexy and really heroic and poignant, really, and heartfelt, so I'm really proud.
We keep the spirit of the musical on stage, but naturally, because of the medium, because of doing it on film, you have to take certain liberties, and a lot of those are things that Andrew wished they could have done in the show 18 years ago. So I think they'll be pleased, and you know, and to hear the music done like this, I think will please any fan. To have a 100-piece orchestra and hear this music so lush and so huge is really, really great.
I've never been through anything like this tonight at all. But the exciting thing for me is just the kids outside who just seem to want to see a movie of Phantom, and you suddenly talk to them, and I've spent a bit of time with them outside, and they're just saying, listen, we can't afford to go and see it in the theatre. And this is the first chance. So many of them heard it through the record or their parents' albums or whatever, you know, in the old CDs. And just hope they like it, because it's the young audience we need for musicals, not old people like me.
And 3, 2, 1, action!
Going right back to the opening of The Phantom on Broadway in 1988, and it was very clear that it was going to take off in a very major way at that point. Warner Brothers became very interested in making the film, and we obviously talked about directors, and I happened to have seen The Lost Boys, which Joel Schumacher directed.
I never thought I would get the job because I knew that there were a lot of very famous directors that wanted it. I just thought it would be great to meet Andrew, you know, another legendary person along the highway of life.
Visually, it was, I thought, a very impressive film, particularly as it was quite a low-budget one, and I thought it was very sure-handled. And again, I thought that the use of music in it was exceptional.
For some reason, I got it. right away, and we were going to make it probably about 14, 15 years ago with Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman.
Close your eyes and let music set you free. Only then can you belong to me.
And for personal reasons of Andrew's, we had to put it on the shelf for a minute there.
The two of them have remained friends ever since. So off and on for 14 years they've talked about the project, and then when it became a reality and we were really going to go out and make it, Andrew phoned Joel, who happened to be in London.
So Joel and I had dinner, and in the course of the dinner I just said to him, "What about the Phantom of the Opera? Don't you think it's time now?" And Joel just said yes.
Joel Schumacher began as a costume designer before he moved into writing and directing films such as St. Elmo's Fire, Batman Forever, and Phone Booth.
I've done so many different genres, and I try to do different ones all the time, and I'd never done a musical. And so it seemed exciting and very, very challenging.
Obviously, there are certain big names for the Phantom who over the years people wanted to play it, and you know, the usual suspects all came up. And Joel said, "I don't want a big name anywhere, particularly as the Phantom, because if I do, the audience is going to come with an expectation, and there's going to be baggage attached to this person, and I can't have the piece won't sing as a piece in the same way." And so from the very word go, it was sort of a given.
Jerry Butler I knew, and his audition was the most difficult because Andrew didn't know who he was. He was a nervous wreck, and he had to come into a room about this size, and Andrew pulled up a chair and sat down, and Simon Lee, our musical director, sat down at the piano, and Jerry had to sing Music of the Night.
I'm about to sing Music of the Night for the composer, one of the most famous songs of all time, and my legs started shaking because I was surprised that I hadn't been that nervous up until I was standing by the piano.
We need to have somebody as the Phantom who's got a bit of, as it were, a bit of rock and roll sensibility in him. He's got to be a bit rough, a bit dangerous, not a conventional singer in the sense, because otherwise when you've got Patrick Wilson as Raoul, you know, who is a wonderful lyric tenor, you don't get that reason. I mean, when you see the film, you say, "Oh yeah, I get it. I know why Christine actually really fancies the Phantom. I know, because he's the right side of danger." But we had to have a voice that could deliver that.
What raging fire shall flood the soul? What rich desire unlocks its door? What sweet sin?
Andrew loved him, and you know, and I knew he was a wonderful actor, and he's a stunning Phantom. Cuts a nice figure on the screen.
No return. The final threshold.
I didn't want to do a middle-aged film, so I said to Andrew I would do it on one condition, that the cast was very young, because I felt that the story, there's an innocence, especially to Christine's character, and I thought if the cast got middle-aged that it wouldn't flow for the romance of the story. Not that middle-aged people can't have romance, but I felt that Christine's character especially is so innocent that I think that youth would assist it.
Close your eyes, let your spirit start to soar.
And Andrew said, "Fine, but they all have to do their own singing." And I said, "Well, that's fair."
I just finished a movie in Montreal called The Day After Tomorrow. And it was actually on that job that I first heard that Joel was going to shoot the Phantom. And I'd never seen the show, never even heard the music, knew nothing about it. So they sent me the script, and I ran out and bought the original CD and absolutely fell in love with the music.
Emmy was just luck. I mean, the fact that this exquisite 16-year-old who had been singing at the Metropolitan Opera since she was 7 and is a wonderful, wonderful actress, you know, she came in at the last second. And almost didn't screen test because she had to go to a family reunion in Las Vegas, and I had to talk her out of it, which I think was kind of heartbreaking when you're 16 and you have your heart set on something.
I got on a plane and I was there, and I wasn't expecting it to be like it was at all. It was a big, full-blown, very kind of old Hollywood screen test. It was very Joel.
You take one. Mark. Ready, settle. And action.
Think of me fondly when we've said goodbye. Remember me once in a while, please promise me you'll try.
I went to the Garnier in Paris, and the director of the Garnier gave me a tour. So I got to kind of familiarize myself with what it would have been like. I got to see all the caverns, and there is actually a lake under the Garnier, which, I mean, you could sail on that lake. And there are caverns and crevices. I mean, someone could be hiding down there, and you'd never know it. And I was in the ballet room where Degas painted all his ballerinas, and it was interesting because I talked to the ballet mistress there, and I said to her kind of as a joke, you know, there must be a lot of ghosts here. And she said, oh no, souls. And I thought, oh my gosh. So that spiritualism is really there. And I stood on the roof where Christine stands with Raoul.
All I ask of you.
The first few weeks of rehearsal were we didn't really know what to expect, because you didn't really rehearse it like you rehearse a show, because a lot of the sets weren't built yet. We didn't really know where we were going to be, and so it was really just about kind of getting to know how we all were going to work in this whole process of doing a musical, because nobody had really done a musical on film. So we were like, well, okay, and all I could offer was, well, this is how we do it on Broadway.
Patrick is a Broadway actor. He did The Full Monty, did Oklahoma, and now has started to go into movies. And Joel spoke to me and said, I think it's Patrick. I said, God, that's a fantastic idea, because to be perfectly honest, over here, we don't breed those kind of guys so much.
Patrick Wilson, I had seen on the stage, and I knew he sang beautifully. He was the first person I cast. He plays Raoul, and he walked in the room, and we just gave him the part right away. And I said, just go and sing for Andrew. In the show, Raoul has a very minor role in the triangle, and in our version, he's really a very aggressive, swashbuckling kind of romantic hero.
I'm writing bareback in the movie, so it's an experience that is unlike any other. So if you learn on a saddle, when you ride without it, it's obviously a much different experience. But that's what's been really exciting, because I didn't want to cheat any of that.
No, Christine, wait!
Certainly then, in those times, you lived life very dramatically, a lot of love and death. You died young, so when you found someone you loved, you went after it, and you got it.
This man, this thing, it's not your father.
The sword fight in the cemetery between the Phantom and Raoul is one of several new scenes created specially for the film that do not appear in the stage version.
I think Christine's relationship with Raoul, that's really her romantic awakening as a teenager. But I think that her pull towards the Phantom, towards Jerry Butler, is a very sexual, very deep, very soulful union.